After normalizing the killing of humans, whether proven to be against the Hive or not, the Hive decided to build monuments for their imminent victory, called the Gift of Tomorrow. These statues were erected in different barangays all over the country. The new Cold War had begun. People were either disappearing or being killed. The others were signing up to have their bodies be changed into cicadas. Their devotion to the chairman and Oleander Jr. was so unwavering that they lined up to be converted by the hundreds. After just a few days, the conversions had reached the Visayas Islands. April and the rest of her family in Dumalag helped fortify the gates of their compound. It was confusing for Ethan why some people were willing to have themselves be turned into giant insect monsters. Meanwhile, the Umakaan explained that Namihanas back then were able to non-verbally communicate with any animal. They were very stealthy, efficient, and still very kind to nature. They were very fit and mindful of everything they did. This was why they were very good at combat and strategies. They could almost predict any action and reaction. Unfortunately, the Apophis overpowered them a long time ago and wiped them out. So the giant said Will would need to become fit, very mindful, and be connected to all walks of life. Mayari came by and decided to stay and observe. She camped out and stayed past the border where all the vicious beasts stayed. Kate watched through the night sky, looking at what Will was doing, cheering him on even if he can't hear her. Halia gave her 3 gifts: the possibility of a second life, knowledge about the Bakunawa and the gods, and the mission. Kate is granted a second chance in life as a guardian and will continue her work of protecting people. But they needed to see if Will was going to be able to do his part. Halia mentioned that her sister Mayari was going to give something to Will in order to give Kate a second life. The 2 sisters were watching them for years and have decided to aid them when the time comes. Completely defeated after countless hours of training, Will went near the edge where the beasts rested. Here, he and the Gawigawen would usually meet and share food. Will was surprised that he was brought sinigang, and it smelled and tasted like the exact same recipe that his mother would cook. Mayari smiled and yelled that April once taught her how to cook this. She knew his parents and was actually there at their wedding back in the 80s. Will remembered his family and the time he and Kate were supposed to eat steak because she was going to cook. He remembered how cold he was, like the last time he and her mother spoke. He remembered how he didn't listen to Kate when she was telling her clues about the cicadas. He remembered, and the weight of regret dawned on him. He had lost the fight and Kate because of how he handled things. Will, after a really long time, was able to let go and cry. The Gawigawen placed a giant hand at Will's shoulder. That's when it all started to click in Will's head. But then the aswang that killed him flew in and riled up the animals, causing chaos. With a renewed sense of perspective, Will leaped and stood in front of the animals, running wild. He knelt down and reached out with his hands. Slowly, the animals calmed down. All the other hiding animals, big and small, also came close to Will, as if he was a candle's flame. Will stood up to look for the aswang. His new hunting instincts kicked in immediately, and he caught a glimpse of the aswang. The beast was in fear, as if looking straight into Will's eyes burned like acid. Will, however, wasn't spiteful. In fact, he waved to the aswang, asking her to come near. But the aswang flew away, far from Will. Siyahari didn't punish his enemies. He did his best to rehabilitate them and make sure that they get to use their strength for doing good. Vengeance was something that he never did, nor was it part of being the Nahimana god. Moyari was impressed as Will exceeded the amount of skill any Nahimana had when the tribe was still existing. This meant that Will was now ready to wield the Sigalung and to learn how to use it to bring back Kate. Will's eyes widened at what Mayari said.